Good afternoon and welcome to Transition Talks Tuesdays. This session is presented by the Wisconsin Autism Transition Demonstration Grant in partnership with the School District of Janesville. And we are excited to have Rebecca here from the School District of Janesville. My name's Tim Markle. I'm with the WADI Project, the Wisconsin Autism Transition Demonstration Grant. And that's all I really need to say. Rebecca, go ahead and take it away.
Well, thanks, Tim. We really appreciate this opportunity to teach both parents, staff, students about some of the important pieces of transition that come with students as they move into adulthood. So I'm Rebecca Garber. I'm a special education program support teacher and transition specialist with the School District of Janesville. And I thank you for signing up for this. This is the first of six sessions that we are doing. And if you have any questions about what those other sessions are, we're happy to answer those at the end. But I'm assuming you all saw the flyer, which is how you were able to sign up. So I'm not going to spend a lot of time talking about the other sessions. But we are starting with hearing about DVR. There's always a lot of questions about working and jobs and things like that. So we are fortunate to have Tiffany Burton, who is a DVR counselor that works primarily with students from Craig High School, and Julie Stohr, who primarily works with students from Parker High School. And they're going to talk a little bit about DVR, and there will be time for questions. And I don't know if you ladies care if you get interrupted during the presentation or want all questions at the end. I don't know if you have a preference.
We do have a section at the end for all questions,
Okay.
but feel free to put them in the chat and we can review them at the end. Okay, so you don't forget about them or anything.
Sounds great. All right. And on that note, I'm going to turn it over to you.
All right, so I'm going to start the presentation. Like Rebecca said, I'm Tiffany Burton, a vocational rehabilitation counselor, and I work for the Division of Vocational Rehabilitation. And the first services that we kind of start with students is transition services. So we're going to talk more about those today. Our learning targets is understanding DVR's referral and application process, what DVR's eligibility criteria are, because the students have to be eligible for our services. And we'll talk more about that. And I'll describe more of the transition services, and then Julie will kind of jump in and share tools and best practices for successful student transition. And then at the end, we will address your questions about DVR transition services, because it is a kind of transition from being in school to adulthood. And they're all individualized. So that is the first answer to our question of what is DVR. So it's a federal and state program that offers individualized services to eligible people with disabilities who want to work. So that could start out for students of just being an entry-level job. And we can also provide training and technical assistance to employers regarding disability employment issues. And we actively engage with about 19,000 consumers, not just students, but also adults at any given time. And all of those consumers are working towards an employment goal. Okay. And funding for DVR is 78.7% federal and 21.3% state match. So we are federally and state funded for these services. So our mission is for our consumers to obtain, maintain, and improve employment for people with disabilities by working directly with them, whether that's students, adults, businesses, employers, and other partners such as the schools. So we're all about finding a job, keeping a job, getting a better job. And it's all individualized on what that takes. So the first step is to get a referral and have each person apply. So high school students with a disability should apply to DVR at least 2 years before completing high school. So typically, students who have an IEP would qualify for that, and they can apply as early as 14, but it has to be, they have to be ready to work and want to work or work towards that in some way. So for those under 18 or those over 18 who are not their own guardian, the individual's legal guardian must sign all the documents for the application process, for any releases of information. There is a paper application, but we would prefer that all applications are done online. They can be mailed. You can come to a local job center in person. There is one in Janesville, and that's typically where mine and Julie's office is as well. And there usually we try to have staff available at the job center to have in-person applications to be done as well. So what does DVR do? DVR helps consumers to develop an individualized plan for employment with a counselor like myself or Julie. And this will really define what the job goal actually is, which is in line with their skills, abilities, and interests. And the services will be laid out in that plan to reach their employment goal. And all of those services need to be necessary and appropriate to reach that goal. And then the job seeker's roles and responsibilities will also be listed out, as well as DVR's roles and responsibilities. And we can individualize progress measures to make sure that they're taking steps to achieve that job goal. And so the types of services that we can provide are career planning, training assistance, and building connections to Wisconsin businesses. So that's either for a long-term career or even an entry-level job, just to get them started in the workplace. And DVR is really the single largest source of disability talent in the state. And we provide employers with direct access to well-qualified pools of talent because we like to set them up for success long term. So you may be asking, what is an IPE? That's the individualized plan for employment. A lot of times schools can get it confused with an IEP, which is the individualized education program. But we use the IEP to kind of fuel what our IPE is. Since there's a lot of information in those IEPs, we use that to gather that information to make an appropriate goal, okay, for that IPE. And then, like I said before, all of those services are geared towards helping students, our consumers, keep a job, find a job, or get a better job. And we do currently have a waiting list, but a student that already has an approved IPE will not be impacted by the wait list. And I'll talk more about the wait list coming up here in the next few slides. So, who is eligible for DVR? They must have a documented medical or psychological disability that presents a barrier to employment and requires DVR services. So with that being medical, you might not be able to see all of that, but we do use medical documentation or any kind of diagnosis to make somebody eligible for DVR. And the DVR staff on the front end will gather all needed written documentation, we'll gather releases of information to get that paperwork to make them eligible. We will schedule a meeting with them. Typically, that's done by phone, and that really discusses their disability, the needs, how it impacts their ability to work and effectively find work. And then we also use that information to the greatest extent possible to fuel our services and really kind of justify why that is necessary and appropriate. So we'll use that IEP, we'll use any functional screens, any medical records to, make decisions. And then we also can refer to additional assessments if that's really needed. But typically those IEPs provide a lot of information, so that's not always necessary. But if it is necessary, we can do that as well. So in December of 2025, we implemented the order of selection. And this was due to insufficient resources. And so in order to ensure that all of those plans that we have already approved can be fulfilled, we need to prioritize services for individuals with the most significant disabilities and, make sure that we can take care of the ones that we have already committed to. And individuals are served as resources become more available based on the category and application date. And so any new people coming in right now that are applying will be placed on a wait list after eligibility is determined. So how the wait list works is that eligible individuals are placed into one of three categories. Category 1, Category 1 is served first, and those are the ones with more significant disabilities. And DVR will reach out directly to them when services can begin to develop that plan for employment. Eligible individuals are placed into three categories based on how their disability affects their ability to function within parameters such as mobility, communication, self-care, self-direction, interpersonal skills, work tolerance, and work skills. And category 1 is the most significant of those limitations. Category 2 has significant limitations, and category 3 are all other eligible individuals. So service availability depends on resources and application date. And DVR contacts individuals when services can begin. So we don't really have a timeline for anything right now, but we will contact them once they are off the waiting list. But we can also provide these pre-employment transition services, we call them pre-ETs, to students while they are on the waiting list. They are a bit more limited. So pre-ET services are more focused on career exploration, workplace readiness, like those entry-level jobs, building those work skills, and work-based learning and self-advocacy. Specifically, there are more services on our website that kind of go through this, but it's job exploration counseling, work-based learning experiences, counseling on comprehensive transition, or post-secondary educational program enrollment opportunities. So, that could include apprenticeship, going to college, and just informing students on that more. So, work-based readiness training to develop social and independent living skills, instruction on self-advocacy. Excuse me. These services are provided to students with disabilities who are 21 years of age and younger, who are in high school or post-secondary education training programs. So we can provide services if they go from high school directly into college up until while they're 21. And pre-eds can be provided to a potentially eligible student, an applicant for DVR services, and an eligible student with an individualized plan for employment. So when a DVR waitlist is in place, federal law allows a student on the waitlist to continue to receive pre-ed services if they receive a documented pre-eds from DVR prior to eligibility determination. This includes an individual who has received pre-eds as a potentially eligible student or as an applicant. Services for pre-eds are limited during a waitlist. While on the waitlist, pre-eds for job coaching, so that would be like systematic instruction or just focusing on them learning the job tasks more than what an employer would typically provide. That is not allowed while a student is on the wait list. Transportation services cannot be provided while someone's on the wait list, and personal assistance cannot be provided while someone is on the wait list. And so that kind of describes what the limits are. And Julie can take it on for the key practices.
Hi all. And I did see we do have a question in the chat, and I just wanted to acknowledge that, and we'll get to that when I'm done here. A little bit left. So what are the key practices for transition? So DVR counselors can attend IEPs when we're invited by parents. So the school can't invite us, the parents need to. So if you can invite us to the IEPs, that would be great. And we can be invited prior to being referred to DVR. So we provide employment planning consultation. So definitely reach out and invite DVR staff to IEPs, which are the individualized education plans at the schools, not our IPEs, and allow us to help provide that technical assistance. And like I said, they do not need to be consumers of DVR services at the time we attend the IEPs. We also can offer employment planning consultation through DVR, which can be provided for any student with a disability. And we schedule and attend regular meetings at the high school. So students with disabilities get to know when we're going to be there and look out for us, and we work with them right at the school. Okay, next slide. When we provide services, we do have to look at, oh, Tiffany, can you advance it?
Make it go.
Sorry about that. Thanks. So when we look at services, we do have to look at comparable benefits. We have to look at other sources in the community before using DVR funds for services, such as if a student's going to college, they have to apply for FAFSA or financial aid. Transit services, if they're a student through Janesville, they get a bus pass. Libraries, computer labs, and we look at cost sharing between different agencies to keep the budget going. Next slide. So our end goal really with students is competitive integrated employment, and that is in the Wisconsin statutes. You can see it there. It's defined as a setting that enables an individual to interact with persons without developmental disability to the fullest extent possible. Um, so this kind of brings up the questions that I saw in the chat about businesses not wanting to work with students, and what we do to address that. So there are 11 WDAs in Wisconsin. We are number 11. We each have a business services consultant in our WDA, that is Milo Luna, and his job is to go out and to reach out to businesses to get them interested in working with DVR. That's his job specifically. We also do different things with businesses such as TWEs, which are called or temporary work experiences, where students can work temporarily at a job funded by DVR to see how they're going to do, and then if the employer likes them, then they can hire them on full time. So although I'm sure there are some employers that aren't willing to work with students, I have found that, by reaching out and having good communication, we are fortunate in our WDA where we have employers who are willing to work with students, and I've had a lot of students get hired on and get work experience well in high school. Okay, next slide. So what is a successful closure? So once an individual has maintained employment for a minimum of 90 days, DVR will mark the case as a successful closure and then close the file. For consumers in supported or customized employment, this 90-day timeframe begins following the transition to long-term support. Closures may allow others to come off the wait list, and consumers can reapply for services at any time. These successful closures are not students who are 16 or 17 and just trying out jobs and, they did 90 days, and we're not closing those students. We stay with the students throughout high school. It would be once they graduate from high school and they are in a job that they want to maintain, then it would be either their 90 days or they would transition to long-term support, because at 17 and a half, we should be looking at doing the screenings for long-term support for the students. Okay, next slide. So here are some transition resources that you can look through. START is a statewide transition action and resource team. There is a link there from the DWD for DVR's transition services. Every school has a liaison. Like Rebecca said, I'm the liaison for Parker. Tiffany is the liaison for Craig. Every school has their own liaison, and you can look it up through that link right there. And then if you want, there's a transition action guide, and that transition action guide provides tools and kind of goes through a list of what you can do well in transition and what everyone's roles are. So I highly recommend you look at that action guide. And then this is just the federal funding disclosure that states that the Stevens Amendment is an appropriations provision that requires the U.S. Department of Education grant recipients to acknowledge federal funding when publicly communicating any projects or programs. So we already kind of went through that with you. I'm not going to read it all to you. Tiffany went through, we're, approximately 78.7% funded through the federal government, and we do have to disclose that. And then the next slide is our questions. So
Well,
I see.
Also noting that we have a certain amount of that funding also reserved for these pre-ET services that do serve our students. So that's an important part of our funding as well, is that we do have money set aside specifically to serve students. So I just wanted to note that part of that as well. But yes, any questions?
Yes, I see a question from Kim. Do these services only go to age 21? So pre-ET services are from age 14 through 21. So they follow a student into college if they want to go to college, or apprenticeships, or employment if they're going right after school. So 14 to 21. And can you get DVR services after college? Absolutely. So right now, while we're on a wait list, after you would complete your pre-ETS services, you would actually have to go to the wait list because, like Tiffany said, that pre-ETS has special funding with our wait list. So you would just reapply for DVR services, and then you'd get put on the wait list, and then you'd be eligible for services, adult services through DVR.
If they're on the wait list while they're a student, um, they would actually keep their spot on the wait list. Um, and then once they'll be contacted once they come off of the wait list for those adult services. I just wanted to clarify that as well.
Yep, sorry about that.
But we would want to make sure that we're in communication with the school and, making sure that they have graduated, knowing if they are going to go to college, then they would still qualify until they turn that age 21. But that is up until like that full year that they're 21, we can provide services. But once they turn 22, that's kind of when our system kind of cuts it off, unfortunately. So.
Yes. What age are adult services? 22 to 120. There is no age limit.
Yep. Or after they graduate high school, depending.
So this is Tim, Tiffany, and Julie. Could you just quickly explain the difference between the pre-ed services and the regular DVR service? It sounds like we might have a little bit of confusion about
Mhm.
what's stopping at 21, because I know DVR doesn't stop at 21, but the pre-eds do.
Yep.
So if you could just maybe explain that a little bit. Thank you.
So pre-ETs are more specifically for students. Okay, so they have to be in a student status. So for example, if they continue their student status after graduation, they would still qualify for the pre-ET services for that full year of being 21 years old. Okay. If they want to take a year break after high school, they would no longer qualify for that pre-ET service, even if they do go back to college, because they have a longer break of that student status, if that makes sense. Does that clarify things?
I wonder if you can talk a little bit and just refresh us on what are some of those services that would be available for somebody not doing pre-eds.
Um, so it would still be this like similar services, but it would be more geared towards a long-term career. So whether that's, making sure that more of that training to get a job, that would require having more of that individualized plan for employment that I talked about a few slides back. It would be, finding that job, keeping that job, getting a better job, which may include training, which may include resume building, um, going on that job search again, getting extra support with that job search, and then making sure that they can keep that job for at least 90 days. But we would, once they meet that employment goal and get employed, we would follow them along for at least 90 days, like Julie explained.
Yeah, and for adult services, they're going to they're the same services as the pre-op services. We offer, guidance and counseling, job search assistance, just kind of like Tiffany had talked about. We offer interpreter services. We help with occupational licenses, transportation, disability and employment assessments, rehabilitation technology. So Yeah, there are very similar services between the two. It's just separated by who is pre-ets and who is an adult.
Mhm.
We have a new question in the chat. Will DVR help them with the job search after college?
If we have a signed individualized plan for employment with them after college.
And
Yes.
many colleges have their own
Yes.
supported programs to help students find employment. Some are called like Handshake, and the colleges do a really nice job of trying to network their students to make sure that a student with disabilities is connected to all those services. I greatly recommend registering with the Disability Resource Center, whether you're at a technical college or UW System College. Most colleges have disability resource centers, and they usually will have an extra effort to help their students to find jobs afterwards, after
Mhm.
college.
Mhm. Yes, thank you for adding that, Tim. We would consider that like a comparable benefit too, um, of having that. Julie kind of talked about that as well. And we can refer to other things like that in the community as well. And when somebody does go on the wait list, we do send them like a resource packet of other things in the community as well. So that will be received when they're informed about their eligibility for DVR services.
Other questions, please feel free to put them in the chat, or you can unmute. We will see that you unmuted and we'll call on you, or if we don't, just speak up. We haven't had much chaos lately. So feel free to unmute if you do have a question or a comment, or put it in the chat and we relay it.
I have a question.
Go ahead, Kim.
Absolutely.
Oh, I just lost my train of thought. Let me think. I'll let you know.
Okay, we can come back to you as well. Additionally, if you don't want to unmute or you think of something later, this is our contact information as well.
I
And you
just
can
remembered.
always, oh yeah, go ahead.
How long after college will you help them? Like, say they want to take a break after college before working. How
Mhm.
long after that would you help them to find a job? Does that make
Um,
sense?
so I guess it depends on when they applied and if they have an active individualized plan for employment with us or not. Um, Typically, if they're on the waiting list, they would have to wait until they were removed from that waiting list before services could be obtained, and it's more of on an individualized basis. So they would just have to be communicated with their whoever their case manager or DVR counselor is.
Okay, thank
Yeah.
you.
Yeah, there is no time limit. Like, we're only going to work with you for 1 year after you graduate. We will work with you and be there for you and support you until you get that job. Because that's our goal.
Yep, what's kind of getting
Mhm.
in the way of some of these questions is the wait list that was recently put
Mhm.
into place starting December 1st. Is that timeline right, Julie and Tiffany? But prior to that, it was if you qualified for services, they would start immediately. So it's just the recent wait list that has kind of just put a different timeline on things. Is that
Mhm.
accurate?
Yes, and it depends on if they're already, if they have that active plan for employment or if they are on the waiting list. But any new applicants will be placed on the waiting list until they are contacted that they're off the waiting list. So,
Has there been any discussion? We have a question about how long the wait lists. Everybody would want to know how long the wait lists are. Have they come out with any guidance on that?
no, not yet.
Okay.
No.
Hopefully not long.
And Yes, ideally it won't be long, but like it said, like we're gonna serve the category one first that have the most significant disabilities, and then it would be category two. And any students that apply will get a letter saying you are in category one and or you are in category two, and we will contact you when you're off the waiting list. And it kind of explains like what does category one mean? What does category two mean? Um, so that's just how we order who comes off the wait list first.
And I just want to reiterate too, when they are students and they are pre-ets, because this is Transition Tuesday, they will still get services. You will still get services if you are pre-ets and on the wait list. The only thing you won't get is job coaching, personal attendance, or transportation, but you will still get services even if you're on the wait list.
Mhm. And that's like help with like entry level job searching, talking about um, what kind of college to go to, how to start getting ready for college, how to advocate for any accommodations in the workplace. That's things that we can't do while a student is eligible on the wait list, but we have to talk with them before, like either while they're applying or right before they become eligible for our services.
Any other questions or comments at this point? Give everybody a moment. Question for you guys in the chat. Does
Yeah.
DVR help with finding places to live?
Unfortunately, we do not, but we do referrals. So we will refer based upon circumstance to places, homeless shelters, and places where you can get support with rent and housing. But we ourselves do not find places for people to live.
Mhm. We're solely employment focused, just focusing on getting a job, unfortunately. And we know there's other barriers to that, but we're limited to only things for a job.
Okay, last chance to put questions in, and I will let everybody know to please be watching your email if we have your email address. We will be sending out not only the recordings and also the slides, but the resource sheet. We'll also be sending out a short evaluation so that we can continue to find out how we can improve Transition Talks Tuesdays and impact the work with the WADI grant to fulfill our goals in the Janesville area of better quality of life for students 13 to 26 with autism. Can DVR be a reference for a job? Like a DVR counselor, possibly? One of the questions in the chat.
So that would for
It
it's a
depends on
little
the
more
circumstance.
complicated than that. Yes,
Yeah.
it's more complicated because with us being with DVR, that would automatically label the student, the consumer, with having a disability. Because I've had people ask me that, so I just have a conversation with them of like, hey, this is gonna show them that you have a disability. Do you want that? And typically they're like, no. And then we talk about other, um, references that may be appropriate as well, like a teacher or, um, if a teacher or if maybe they volunteered somewhere. So somebody that they volunteered with, somebody that they've worked with in some way, shape, or form could be a better reference than us, for example. Those are all good questions, though.
Yeah,
Are
we
there
have
any
another
more?
question. Yeah. So is there a wait list because of high job placement, too few jobs, high unemployment, good advertising referrals? What are some reasons for a wait list? The wait list is we have a lot of people applying for DVR services, and um, we the money, the funding isn't there to meet everyone's needs at this time.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
So it's a funding issue, unfortunately.
Mm-hmm. And it's like, for example, we had to have that state match to match the federal funding. And if they both don't increase, then that can affect the amount of people that we can serve. So yeah. Because we can only spend as much as the state allows us to, with no matter how much federal comes in.
And DVR is national and state service, but I believe it's Wisconsin that's limited to the wait list, correct?
No, there's many other states nationwide that are on a waiting list.
Okay,
There are very few that are not on a waiting list right now.
okay.
That's my understanding, at least.
But
I don't know
my,
which ones are or not, but um, many of them are on a waiting list for services.
yeah, that was my understanding too, was that when previously we did not have a wait list, we were in a definite minority among the
Okay.
states and vocational
Yes.
rehabilitation agencies. So this is normal for other states in Wisconsin. Question about, do other agencies do what you do? And that may also, if you have, just a couple minutes that you can talk about a little bit about the role of the supported employment agencies, the supporting the people that will be working with the applicant. Because I know that some families get confused because they come into DVR, they work with DVR, and then they end up with Feist or Can Do or another agency, and they don't understand. They're still working with DVR. There's just an agency that's providing that service. Would
The
you be able to
two
explain that really
community
quick?
solutions.
Mm-hmm. Julie, do you want to take that or do you want me to try to explain it?
I can take it. So yeah, so there are other agencies that do what we do, such as like Tim said, once someone's stable in a job, they get transferred over to long-term support. So there's different employment networks. There's different agencies that do work with people with disabilities through a program called Ticket to Work. So this is the link for Ticket to Work. If someone receives disability, it helps them find employment. And so if you click on there, it has a list of the agencies that also can do Ticket to Work. If you are in DVR, you're automatically in Ticket to Work. What that is, it's a program that helps people who receive disability gain employment. And there's a lot more to it because it's Social Security and stuff, but they're all employment networks. So you can choose an employment network to do Ticket to Work, or you can go through DVR. So that's the list of other agencies that also do employment with people with disabilities. And then supported employment, it's it's through adult long-term support. So for transitioning, the students are going to, a lot of them are going to be involved in children's long-term support. And then when they're 17 and a half, their children's long-term support worker is going to help them apply for adult long-term support if they're eligible. And if they're eligible, then adult long-term support, like I said, they would transition over once they're stable in a job from DVR to adult long-term support and that's called supported employment. And that just depends on eligibility and disabilities to be screened in for that. So that is one of the areas of transition in addition to working with DVR.
Mhm. Well, and Tim, a lot of like the places like Can Do and Feist, and Rebecca mentioned Community Solutions of Wisconsin. Those are, we have different service providers, and they provide different services to, um, students or our adult consumers. And the difference between us and them is they since we're doing all of this like eligibility and all of that kind of stuff and doing more of this counseling aspect with them and helping them advocate for themselves, sometimes we can't always provide like that extra search support that they need. So some students or some adults may need that extra support from a service provider. So then we inform them of the service providers in the area that are looking for those services they need, or that they're looking for to reach that employment goal, and we connect them with them. They can also set up job shadows and those temporary work experiences or internships, like Julie mentioned. We do not go out in the community and set those up. The service providers that we connect students and consumers to go and set those up. So hopefully that answers your question, Tim.
Thank you. Yes, I think I like that clarification. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
I think I've said any final questions about 15 times now. You all keep coming up with some really good questions, which shows me that you are
Yeah.
listening, you are engaged, and you care about this topic. So I really do appreciate that interaction. And I will say, I'll keep an eye on the chat. I'll keep an eye on people that maybe I'm muting. But in the meantime, thank you so much, Tiffany and Julie, for being here tonight. We will get our recordings and resource sheets out as soon as we possibly can. And we hope that you will be able to join us again on February 17th from 4 to 5 when we will be talking about healthcare transition, an area that a lot of times is not talked about when students are becoming adults, but there are changes that occur between youth healthcare and then the world of adult healthcare. And we want to make sure that our students and our children are prepared for that. So thank you again, everybody, for being here tonight. Thank you to our presenters. Thank you, Rebecca. Any final words?
I was just going to put a plug in for the next topic. Tim will be presenting, as will his son, who is going to absolutely steal the show. So,
Yeah, he throws me under the bus quite often, and he's funnier than I am. So please come and meet us.
And I just want
All
to
right,
say,
well,
if
thank
you have
you.
any questions, please reach out. Our information's right there. Please reach out and contact us.
Mhm.
And we'll add that to the resource sheet as well. And
Thank
you'll have it on the PowerPoint. So you'll know right how to get a hold of Tiffany and Julie. That'll be great.
Yep.
All
Yes, and
right.
thank you for inviting us to present.
thank you,
Thank you all.
everyone, so much.